Okay, so I know a lot of people say that you can't change your personality. That's not actually true. You can, it's just very difficult, and sometimes you need help. I know all about the biology stuff that gets talked about, and first of all, people gotta understand what happened. All right. Um, Sometimes you got nice people who work really hard to be nice, and I do tend to feel bad for them for having to work so much just to be nice. Um, but it's the fact that they want to be is what's admiring about them. And then you got other people that's just nice and it's just easy for them. Now you can do a 720 head turn and be like, what? Nah. But it's just the case with some people. That's just how it is. I think society was conditioned to be this way from generation to generation. Um, Whatever group decided to be self-centered was the trigger to the conditioning effect. Okay, I understand the whole genetic things that people talk about. There actually are ways to influence your genetics, but one of the intense ways to influence it is by what I mentioned. When you have a group that act a certain way, they have offspring. Their offspring is heavily nurtured by their parents. They may feel a desire inside to be the opposite, but their parents will say, no, 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 act this way, act that way. This happened with racism. A lot of people's children at first didn't really care too much about the whole race thing, but their parents pushed it on them. But it's a similar thing with self-centeredness. I would say, and there's a reason why I say that, and I'm going to get into that. But yeah, there'll be an offspring that may desire to be the opposite in behavior to the parents, but the parents push on this persona onto them, and then they act according to it, and their mind adjusts to that. And then when they have offspring, that adjustment is even stronger. And when this keeps happening on a routine basis, it starts to switch the subconscious to the point where it becomes not necessarily evil, but indifferent. So that means that the scale's tipped. So something is favored instead of the other. Something like bad traits. Then you got people who were well, anyway, I can talk about that another time. But anyway, so what I'm saying is that this conditioning seems to have already happened. Now, I'm not saying that people were normal before this, but what I'm saying is that they were in a state before, or in other words, a form. They were in a form where it was easier for them to change. But I think with this conditioning now, people act the way they act, but it's harder for them to change that because of the conditioning. Now, years ago, people were still flawed, but when it comes to flaws in general, not everyone is flawed the same. Some people are less flawed than others. Okay, there's different parts of the body that can have more flaws than the other as well. And a lot of people have their own unique ratios. So someone can have a perfect hand with a heavily imperfect brain, while another person can have a semi-perfect brain with a very, very flawed hand. Autistic people, there's a lot of autistic people where their brain is flawed in certain ways that are not like others' brains. But then they have certain other parts in their brain that are less flawed, hence why some of them can draw very well and memorize things easily. Of course, people don't notice. A lot of people, they look at an autistic person and think he's, they don't think he knows anything, right? But whatever, that's their assumption. Anyway, so the thing I wanted to get into was well, actually, now that I think about it, I think I would rather just, well, I'll say it. During those gladiator battles, those times where Romans used to do that, they used to purposefully condition some of the some of the mammals that they used to be aggressive, and it worked. Yeah, they did that for, it was done for decades. So that was that was a form of genetic conditioning in a way. So I think the same thing is happening or happened with people, where they weren't just conditioned into aggression, but they were conditioned into self-centeredness. But I'm not saying that a person is doomed to be self-centered. That's not what I'm saying. There's obviously people who are very much different from their grandparents and parents. Despite what other people assume, everybody thinks that a person is just like his dad or her mother. That's not always the case. It sucks that they think that though, because of their assumption, they don't see you as having your own identity. But you see how overboard people have gone with this biology talk. It's like they use it to judge someone's entire potential away. And